Hey everybody, what's going on? There's a lot going on in the Montreal Canadiens world right now, and there's a lot to dive into in this video. As a result, the NHL Draft is just under 2 weeks away. We're 12 days out from the NHL Draft, and the Montreal Canadiens are going to go through a very difficult stretch over the next week and a half. They're going to have to finalize their NHL Draft rankings. They're going to have to figure out what their list is heading into the draft. They're going to have to figure out the value of potentially trading up and whether or not it's worth it. So let's dive into all that in today's video. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button for this channel. New Montreal Canadiens videos are published every Friday. Now, there's a lot of chatter of late about the Montreal Canadiens trying to trade up into the top four of the NHL draft. They currently have the fifth overall selection, and they've been talking with the San Jose Sharks about potentially moving up to the fourth spot, along with the second overall pick, which is currently held by the Anaheim Ducks. I think it's rather unlikely that the Montreal Canadiens ultimately have the pieces that are needed to trade up into either of those spots. It just won't make sense from a value standpoint. The Montreal Canadiens can still make out really well with that fifth overall pick, but it doesn't mean they shouldn't at least be engaging with those other teams to find out what the price is. You're probably going to find out, though, that the price is going to be too high and that the value doesn't ultimately line up and make sense for the organization. The fifth overall pick is going to be where the NHL draft ultimately starts. It's hard to see the first four overall picks not going chalk, so you're likely to see Connor Bedard go first overall to the Chicago Blackhawks. Second overall looks to be Adam Fantilli to the Anaheim Ducks. Third overall appears to look like Will Smith to the Columbus Blue Jackets, but it could also be Leo Carlsson, and whichever one doesn't go third overall, you're likely going to see him go fourth overall. Then here's where the draft starts with the Montreal Canadiens at the fifth overall pick. They're going to be in conversation whether it's Matvei Michkov, David Reinbacher, Ryan Leonard. I think those are the three most likely players that the Montreal Canadiens will select at fifth overall. Personally, just judging by what we're hearing right now, I don't think Michkov is the most likely of the three. So I think it's probably going to come down to either Reinbacher or Leonard. But we really don't know. Ken Hughes is famous for putting on these smoke screens in the media and just around the hockey world. We don't really know what the Montreal Canadiens brass is thinking, and anyone who claims to know is probably lying right now, considering that the Montreal Canadiens have yet to finalize their draft list, and they'll be working on that over the coming weeks. So we really don't know where they stand. Sure, you're going to hear from different people in the organization and learn where potential players could go in this draft, but I just don't think they've finalized their list. So any really definite statements that are out there right now are probably false. Still, it's hard to not see the Montreal Canadiens at least being really intrigued by Reinbacher and Leonard. Personally, from my perspective, I think Leonard makes a lot more sense than Reinbacher, especially if the Montreal Canadiens are still going to be in the bottom 10 next year in the 2024 draft. That's a very strong defensive-heavy draft, and the Montreal Canadiens would be wise to pick one of the elite top-end forwards in this draft class and then move on to defense and round out their core in next year's draft, as I don't really envision them making a big enough jump to be outside of the top 10. This is just how I envision this team going right now. It just is hard to see them really making that leap past there next year. There's still a lot of really good teams in the Eastern Conference and some that should be making strides along within the Western Conference. And of course, things happen. You can make a run even if you are a not so good team. Things happen, goalies get hot, players get hot for a season, but I just don't suspect that the Montreal Canadiens will be outside that top 10 this season. And as a result, I think picking a high-end forward this year makes a lot of sense, and then shifting the focus to defense next year, where a potential top two pairing defenseman will be in that top 10. So I think it just makes a lot of sense to go in that direction if you're the Canadiens. That's it for me today from Cook's Corner. As always, let me know in the comment section down below what you think the Montreal Canadiens should do at fifth overall, whether or not you think it makes sense to trade up, and what you'd be willing to give up if you ultimately decided to trade up. And as always, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It's much appreciated. I'm Zach Cook. We'll see you later.